The information discussed on Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell is believed to be from reliable sources. However, no responsibility is assumed for inaccuracies. No statement made on this broadcast should be construed as a specific recommendation of a particular investment product. Views expressed are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent those of CBS Radio. Use only as directed.
Smiles, everyone. Smiles. And prepare yourself for...
Show me the money!
Ladies and gentlemen, the radio broadcast experience designed to keep your wallet in top condition. It's Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Talkin' money. Talkin' money. More money, more money, more money.
And now entering the studio, your guru for fiscal fitness, Jeff Tarbell.
Right, that's me. How you doing? Back in the big chair, out of the Southwest plane. If I fly any more this year, I might as well just become the pilot. I am all over the place. Is your mic on there, Mikey? Talking to that thing.
Yes, it is.
There you go. How you doing?
Good morning.
John Fodorero is up in the greater Truckee area today on his anniversary, so happy anniversary to John and his wife, and enjoy yourself up there. Wish we were up there with you.
No kidding.
Be nice weekend to get away a little bit. Also on that note, happy birthday to my good buddy Colin Grail, who's up there in the Tahoe area because he's tweeting me pictures from Sunnyside saying, look where I am and you are not. And so he's celebrating his birthday again. My little nephew, Zach Book, is celebrating his birthday. It's quite the weekend. And I'm here, and you're here.
And I'm here.
We're working.
That's okay. I'm going to be golfing later, so
you
makes
are.
up for it.
That well, you introduce yourself. You did this before?
Been here a few times.
Yeah, Mike's in here.
Yeah,
and Mike is our exquisite branch manager there in the Roseville Comstock office, and said he'd stop in this morning and give us an alternative voice to just me rambling on for 2 straight hours, and Chris for 15 seconds. So we'll get to Chris, but Mike, before we jump all over the entry of this show, because if I get rolling on here, I'll forget. Mm-hmm. So fresh off with his new Pez gift, right from Orange, Connecticut, the Boston Red Sox. Are the Pez candies all gone, Chris? You eat them all yet?
They're all gone.
They're all gone. He probably never opened the thing. So anyway, 15 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever he decides to come out of his mouth from the mind of Chris Verlade, CBS Radio's top executive. What's happening, big boy?
Not much. I think people have been turning off the station because usually I talk about soccer at this point. Mm-hmm. I am sort of, but that's not the real deal. Like, everyone's seeing what's going on in Brazil, which is pretty insane, that they are protesting, millions of people protesting the government for how much money they're spending on the World Cup and the Olympics within 2 years of each other, and something like $40 billion, which is insane to begin with. And if you've got countries like Brazil, which are soccer crazy, everything stops whenever the country plays, and they're going after the national team, they're going after Pele, which you thought would be blasphemous.
Right.
But they are ticked off, and you can't really blame them. Like, if you have third world hospitals, but you're spending billions upon billions on new soccer stadiums, which they already have, but you have these FIFA and the Olympics coming in saying, hey, you need to redo these or we're not gonna come. You're going to have some problems. I think you're going to have some problems in the next couple World Cup countries too, like Russia and Qatar, which are facing the same type of situation. So
they build a new stadium and then they burn it down.
Yeah, they're talking. I mean, they've put up checkpoints to get into stadiums now to stop the protesters from coming. Which, like, you've never seen anything like this. They're even talking about, are they going to have the World Cup if this keeps on going on? Which is talk that's never happened before, so I think it's going to be interesting the next year.
The burning of Brazil. That's Chris Verlade. You can reach him at CBS Radio, or you can just hang out in the parking lot when he leaves and steal his wallet. Either way, that's fine. If you steal his wallet, you're going to be disappointed because he keeps all his money in bearer bonds in some other countries, so he's fine. And I told Chris I'd bring him back a gift from my trip, and I did bring him the official Boston Red Sox Pez dispenser, and we'll talk about that too. I did a little traveling. Again, this is the problem. So if you are new to the show or you don't know or don't care, I do have 3 daughters who are now all in high school, and they're approaching the age you start looking at colleges. And Mike and I were just talking about before the break, his daughter's going to heading to UC Davis.
Yes, she is.
So we decided unlike when I was going to college, which is basically I was actually talking to a doctor friend of mine who's on the trip with us, and I said I just can't envision my dad when I was in college walking and traveling the country looking at different colleges with me going, which one do you want to go to, son? And the answer to me was, boy, you're going to be lucky to make it to college. Nobody's going to take you in, and you can walk there. It's right down the street. So the problem with, so we did the first swing was like the SoCal schools, and that's easy to get to, and that's fun. But as I was on swing number 2, and I took all 3 of my daughters and my wife, there's 5 of us, plus another group, so there's 4, there's 9 of us. First of all, I haven't the 5 of us have not traveled together in a long time because you're getting older now and I'm traveling on. So traveling with 5 is a big pain in the ass. I mean, it's like traveling like a mini thug group, Everywhere you stop and stand, people are like, okay, are they going to riot? Are they Brazilians? Are they going to go crazy right here in the middle? And then you realize it is so damn expensive for 5 to do anything. I mean, just getting on the plane and moving around and eating and everything else too. By the end of the trip, I said, we can't afford college anymore. We have used our college budget up just here in New York City and in Boston, just looking at schools. But it is quite the adventure. My twins had never been to New York, and I had never been to Boston. So for me, it was an interesting trip. I am not a New York guy. I mean, that's all there. New York to me is like Vegas.
Me neither. Except I like Vegas.
Yeah, but they both kind of look, because Vegas is supposed to look like, some of it looks like New York. So after about 72 hours, I'm done. I mean, I'm like out. I need to go. I'm sick and tired of people. Get away from me. Don't touch me. Don't look at me. It smells funny here. It's expensive as hell. And you've done all the things you've done. I probably walked. I mean, I must have walked like 100 miles. And I think at the first vacation, I actually lost weight in New York because you're just
eating on the way.
You're walking and you grab a piece. It is. So I don't get the New York appeal. I mean, my daughter, the one who was there, the oldest one, would be like in heaven, because there's like all these Broadway and she wants to dance and all that stuff. So I guess that would be cool for her. I don't know if any of you have kids that go across to school all the way across the country. It's a long way over there. You can't row your boat over there, so it's a ways. But I don't. For me, New York, I'm at 72 hours. I'm in and out.
So them being far away, is that a plus or a minus?
I guess it depends. If you know my oldest daughter, for her it's a plus, and she'll be fine. The twins were looking at me like, "There's no way I'm going here, Dad."
University of Sierra College.
Yeah, that's right. I said, I have sufficient funds for one of you to go wherever you want. The other 2 of you are looking at some homeschooling. So pick out a good online education with me. I'll be doing my continuing education in the mortgage business. You can do your school with me.
Exactly.
So we did get a chance to see the 9/11 memorial and the new Freedom Tower, which is a incredibly cool building. They've got it all glassed in now. And what's interesting is that so 9/11 was 9/11/01, so that was 12 years ago. And if you've got kids that are 15 and 17, they were 4 and 6. They kind of sort of remember it, but they really don't, because the only reason they remember it is because it's on. You see replays of it so often you don't really recall. And to be there at that memorial was pretty still emotional for me. I mean, not like I broke down sobbing, but I mean, you realize that where you are standing at those pools is where people flew out of buildings and landed on the ground. And what was once there is no longer there. And it is, I mean, for me, it was pretty moving. Moving.
Do they still have, when you're walking up on the side, all the patches and things, or did they remove that?
No, yeah, they don't have that there as much. They've kind of taken all that stuff, and even from the different fire stations and things, they've kind of created some different areas where they can put all those items together, because now it's really a construction zone now. I mean, you have the Freedom Tower, which is the big one that's looks like it's nearing completion, and then you have the little ones that are going around that are in some stage of getting started or not. So it's really a construction zone. I mean, to get into it, and if you want to go see it, by the way, there is no cost. They take a donation if you want to donate, but you do need a ticket. You can get one there and just walk in and see it. And I highly suggest that you do it. It was very, very, very moving and very, very beautiful. It's just a phenomenal. You look at this, basically it's a waterfall that goes down into one big tank, which goes down into another one. It's pretty cool. So I suggest you take a look and do that if that interests you. And then we left, and we decided we would drive, because quite honestly, I've been in New York one time, and it was for a week, like a weekend, And that's my sum total of my East Coast experience. So we decided we'd drive from New York to Boston. And we wwent through Connecticut. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with Connecticut or have ever been there. Connecticut, to me, looks like they cut a giant swath of pavement through a forest. I mean, Connecticut is nothing but trees and green. And you'll realize why, because my wife was researching it. It rains about 5 inches every month, regardless. And they had 7 inches in the last 3 weeks when we were there. And it rained about 2 inches by the time we left New York to Boston. I mean, they're coming down. But it is the most gorgeous area I have ever been through. I mean, just lush, lush, lush. And you can see why the Martha Stewarts of the world, they don't live in New York. They live in Connecticut. I mean, it is. And that's where we found the Pez store. You can go through take the Pez tour in Connecticut. That was fun. And then worked our way on up into Boston. And Boston is an area that I have never been. And we went up there just strictly because we were on the East Coast. And Boston is an area that was completely surprising to me because it was super clean. It was a lot of Irish-American guys who I is partly one of them. And so, it's just people you kind of relate to. And it has such I've never been in an area that has such an incredible history. I mean, so and again, your dog. And I wish, of course, I didn't appreciate history when I was my kid's age, and they were looking around going, "Dad, this is like a walking history tour." I'm like, "Yeah, this is great," but I mean, this is where like Paul Revere lived, and this is where the British came up and tried to kick our ass. I mean, this is where it all went down. Right here. I mean, you're standing there in the spots that where the womb of our country, for the most part, happened right here. And then you're looking at the tombstones of the signers of the Declaration of the Independence. I mean, things like you don't get that in Sacramento.
And everything's built around it too.
It is. And so for me, it was such a great history lesson. And again, I turned my rental car and I couldn't get out of the rental car fast enough. I cannot stand driving on the East Coast. It's like we just walked everywhere, And in Boston, if you haven't done it before, they've literally painted a red line. Have you done that? So they call it the Freedom Trail, or is that the right word? So you start, and we hired a lady, or we were on a tour that she walked around, and she's dressed in garb, and she really was great. But there literally is a red line, or it goes to red brick, and it goes throughout the city in all the different spots. And you can buy an app, and the app will listen. It'll talk to you and go through the things. So it is very, very cool if you want to do it. And then we went over onto the USS Intrepid. No, that was New York City. Old Ironsides, whichever one is the old. It's still an active military ship, but it's basically all wood. But the Boston trip was. I really liked Boston. I mean, I really liked Boston. And we were there during the Stanley Cup Finals that day. I went to Fenway Park, which I've never been to, and that was sold out for like a Wednesday night, and they were playing the Devil Rays. I mean, who would go to that game? And so the whole experience for me was phenomenal. We did see the Boston. I actually just happened to stumble down the street and found the street where the Boston bombing occurred. They still have the finish line painted on the street, and you can see the buildings that were just completely blown out. I mean, from a pressure cooker. Something the size of a backpack. Not only did it do incredible damage to the individuals there, but it wiped out some of the businesses that were right there, and some of them have not come back. And there was a lot of signs of people that showed up to help businesses rebuild. So it was just a very interesting trip, and glad I did it. Glad to be back. I don't know if I could live on the East Coast or not, but maybe Connecticut. Yeah, that's right. Chris said, "Good thing you were there, dude, in the summer." Because it was not humid, and it was not cold. It was and you realize when you're walking around the streets and you hear local people going, "Oh my God, this is a great day." You're like, I looked at my wife and I go, "Maybe this isn't the norm." We're all walking in shorts and enjoying ourselves. So it was a great time, and ran into some of my clients back in Boston, and one of my good clients is a fire chief here, and he was back there, and they do some training after any. Which I didn't know, after any major event like the Boston 9/11, the government puts together, as I understand it, puts together kind of a task force, and they invite in people from all different communities that are fire chiefs and emergency responders, and say, "Look, this is what happened. This is how we responded. This is what we did great. This is what we did not so great." So you learn firsthand on how to handle a mass event like that. So it was
Yeah.
Very good times. And glad to be back. Mike and I got a lot of stuff to cover today. We have a guest in the second hour also going to come in and talk a little bit about some property management and things you want to do there. I did catch this article coming back, which I thought was interesting. The Boston One Fund Boston, which is a tax-free or a collection fund which gives tax-free payments out to people who are injured or had claims from the Boston Fund, has raised $46 million collected from private donations, and that is the largest fund ever to raise that kind of money for what they expect to be about 175 to 200 people will probably have some sort of a claim. There was 4 people killed, 14 who lost their limbs. And to give you an example of how much money that is, on the Newtown Elementary School massacre, there was about $11 million raised. Virginia Tech rampage was about $8 million raised. The Aurora, Colorado raised about $5 million. And September 11th doesn't count because they got all kinds of federal money. And they got about $7 billion for the September 11th fund. But anyway, the One Fund in Boston has raised tremendous amounts of money privately to help those people. So that's pretty cool. $46 million.
Yeah.
And I hope that helps out some people there. So we're going to take a break. Mike's got a quiz question for you. If you want to jump in today, we've got lots of time for your calls and questions. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text me if you'd like at 44-1140. We have some tickets to Little Texas, who's playing in July at the Hellwig Amphitheater there, outdoor amphitheater at the Hellwig Winery. Got some River Cats tickets, and baseball is going in full swing now. And some Roundtable Pizza if you don't want to do any of those events. So up to you. We'll take a couple winners here off the phone and off the text. What do you got on tap there, Miguel?
So this question is about paternity leave. So
okay.
Right. So we really don't know what that is from a federal standpoint here in the United States, and I'll get into that in a minute. But which country, provides the most federal leave for paternity?
For fathers.
For fathers.
Okay, this is our late Father's Day question.
Yeah, late Father's Day question. So you have a baby, mom gets so much time granted by state and federal, but this is a federal question. Which country provides the most amount of paternity leave? And just a hint, United States is at 0.
So the United States has no federal paternity.
No federal paternity.
Maybe a couple. I think you said a couple states do it, but not on a federal basis. Okay.
California, Washington, New Jersey, and District of Columbia are the states that participate, but federally, United States provides 0.
Okay. So which country has the most?
The most.
And how many weeks is it? Just out of curiosity.
61 weeks.
That's a year and a month, or a year and 2
months?
I'm
moving to this country. My wife doesn't know yet, but
I've got 3 kids.
Packing
That's
up tomorrow.
180 weeks. That's I could be out like 4 years from now. That'd be awesome. Well, there you go. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 44-1140. My name's Jeff. That's Mike. This is Talkin' Money. Which country has the most? 61 weeks of paternity leave for dad, not mom, for dad. We'll be right back.
Talkin' Money!
Well, alrighty then. We're back to Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
That's my name, Richard. How you doing? Miguel, read that question again, because we didn't get... First off, I didn't say just text me your number for free tickets. You do have to actually come up with an answer. It's not that hard, but apparently it's getting close. Go ahead.
So which country provides the most federal paternity leave? So this is in weeks. So United States was 0. This country provides 61 weeks of paternity leave for the dad.
For the dad.
Yep.
What
country?
Not Germany, not Australia, not I'm texting for free tickets, not test.
Not China.
Not China.
China's 0 actually too with the United
States. Who else
States.
is a 0?
Italy. Well, no, just China, United States.
Just China, United States. Okay.
Yep.
So I will give you a quiz question hint that they also are known for their chocolate. And
if anyone's seen my skin, they would know too. This nice pink tint.
Is that right? Okay.
Pinkish white.
And I was there. I did land there for my trip earlier this year. Although I didn't stay there, I moved on. So if you can get the answer to that, I'll give you a little hint. They had some banking issues over there too, I think, a little bit. So
just a little.
Yeah. So we'll let that hang out there as well. Speaking of all the traveling, if you've been, I probably should get my own airplane. Other than the fact that they're the one I could get would only get me to Real Linda and back beyond that, which
Who
is
needs to go farther than
beautiful
that?
this time of year. But check this out. I happened to catch this when I was flying one day, and I thought, okay, now this is not so bad. How would you like to own your own Pilatus jet? Now, if you're familiar with the Pilatus, it's a single-engine plane. It takes about, 6 to 8 people. It is, for individuals, it is like one of the sweetest planes you can own. But it's about $3 or $4 million, so it's getting up there, plus operating costs. So just a bit out of my range, particularly after this last week.
All the tolls you paid.
No, with all the market changes, I might be lucky to make $35. But anyway, you can have your own Pilatus aircraft if you want, or I should say your own access to it. Surf Air, cool name. Surf Air will allow you all you can fly monthly. So all you can fly in a month for a monthly due between their hubs. So you can't just take it to your grandma's house. You got to go between the hubs they're going to. But they'll be flying. They're starting off kind of that SoCal, NorCal, Burbank to San Carlos, which would basically be Hollywood, Silicon Valley if you want. But they're adding more places. $2,000 a month flat fee. You can bring a guest if you let them know in advance, and you can just go and go and go. Now, if you were having to travel up and down the state of California or where else they
Save
go,
money.
Oh, $2,000 on a private plane. You're not getting body frisks and all the other things too. For a business traveler or someone who's got some offices north and south is a screaming deal. And they get one running between Sacramento and SoCal. Or if you had a kid in school, or you still have $2,000 a month is still $2,000 a month. That's a lot of dough. But if you have if you had a business purpose for it and you're going a couple 3 times anyway, I think it's a cool deal. So Surf Air, check them out. They you have to apply with them to become one of their clients, but you can have your own Pilatus jet for $2,000 a month, and trust me, that is more than the fuel alone if you were flying yourself around. So good for them on that. That sounds like a pretty cool idea. Did you get a winner? You did get a winner. Kevin got it right. He wanted River Cats tickets, so we'll send Kevin a pair of River Cats tickets to our Slovakia. I don't even know that they even have fathers in Slovakia that are. Of course they do. But I don't think they have any. Was Slovakia on your list?
No,
it's
not.
No, I can guarantee. Was it France?
France was on there.
How many weeks do you get in France?
28 weeks.
That's not bad, but we're talking 61. Okay, read me your list. Go ahead. This is for fathers and paternity leave. By the way, United States is a big wanking 0.
Yep, United States, China was 0. Australia was 18 weeks. Italy is 26 weeks. France was 28. United Kingdom, 28 weeks. Canada was 35 weeks. 48 weeks in Norway. 52 weeks in Germany. And then our top dog, 61 weeks in Sweden.
Sweden, 61.
Yep. Just so you know, here in California, we get 6 weeks as fathers.
I have 3 kids. I've got nothing.
Yeah. You need to talk to Stephanie about that.
I think you actually have to have a job in order.
Yeah, that's true.
So I that would help. So 6 weeks of paid. And did they tell you how much they're actually paying you?
55% of total compensation.
So for me, that's like 55 cents.
Yeah, and they typically take like a 6-month average of that too. So it's not even for the year. So if you're in a commission job,
have a good 6 months before
could hurt you.
Have a good 6 months before you get knocked up there,
Exactly.
guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's
Have some control.
Is that all the kids you know about, or just the ones you claim? And so I've got Chris in there. He's probably getting about 6 years off with all his fanatics going on there, Mr. Boston. We'll wrap up all of our travel and fun stuff. Did you know this is coming up beginning 4th of July weekend in San Francisco, California, right down the street from us here? Begins what big major sporting event, Chris, begins July 4th in San Francisco?
The America's Cup?
America's
Cup?
Yeah, America's Cup. And right now...
You could tell I knew the answer to that.
Right now...
It wasn't told to me.
That's right. Right now, the America's Cup, which they were hoping would generate... Well, let's see, I highlighted it here. This was their hope. Would generate $1.4 billion in new money, attract 2 million spectators... No, 2.7 million spectators and 8,800 jobs. I can read and talk. Has now been downgraded a little bit. We now expect about 6 jobs and $40. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with holding a American's Cup and America's Cup is that we let Mr. Oracle run the show, and he designed a boat that is so damn expensive and unsafe. They're making changes to it. That currently, the America's Cup, the biggest sailing event in the world, currently has, get it, 2 confirmed racers, with a third trying to get his boat fixed fast enough to meet the quality. That's going to be a hell of an event. 2 teams, maybe 3, as it stands right now. Yes, because the average cost of the boat, where did it go? Each team has spent between $65 to $100 million and need to spend, so they're currently running almost $100 million to participate. New Zealand's team is financed by its government. Sweden's team and Italy's team were financed by billionaires, and so is the American team. But the Swedish team, I believe, is the team who had the gentleman that was killed in the accident during practice. So they're not sure they're going to be in. Italy's not sure they can get their boat fixed fast enough. So I don't know how many of you now want to run down to San Francisco. I mean, originally I wanted to charter just a boat, like a private boat. Bring a dozen people out there and bring some food and beer and go, actually go out in the bay and watch these guys go by. And I mean, that would be killer. Mm-hmm. I don't want to watch 2 teams sail around the. I think what we need to do, we need to go back to those little individual laser sailboats, the little 1-person boats with the little flag you pull up yourself. We need to get like 1,000 of them out there and just race. So we're down
Bring
to
an event.
We're down to, and this is killing the city of San Francisco. They were supposed to fix the harbor and do all. I mean, they were supposed to spend millions and millions of dollars, and they're looking around going, "Hey, you know what, Mr. Oracle, you write the check if you want this event to happen." So it is a little bit of a cluster if you want to see it. I'm trying to see where you can see it from. So the course goes from Marina Green, so just inside the Golden Gate, out kind of toward Alcatraz, and then back around to Pier 27. So, and then there's public on water viewing as well. So I don't know. I don't know how you. I don't know.
I'll leave the calendar open that weekend, just in case.
Well, it goes all the way. July 4th is the opening weekend and ends in September. So there's a number of different races going on. So you do have time to see it. But what a disappointment if you end up with basically 2.5 or 3 teams that are going to watch it. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Sorry, we can take another break here in a minute too. When we come back, we're going to discuss a number of things. One of which is what has been touted is probably, well, let me read you directly out of the newsprint. Taken together, let me just back up. Mortgage rates have had a far worse week than you've been told anywhere else. This is a service that we use. And today was even more freakishly destructive. You got to like the word when you say, well, just not. It was
a good word.
Freakishly destructive than the previous 2 days. Taken together, this is the worst week for mortgage rates we have had on record. Today is one of the 2 times in the past 10 years where the average borrowing rate for the top tier scenarios moved up by at least 1/4 point in a day. And the best execution rates right now are a stomach churning 4.625%. It has been not a good month for mortgage rates. And there are lenders that were the pricing has been so volatile that if you took a lock in the morning, by the end of the day, by the time you could actually get it covered, the rates could have moved 1/4. So lenders were having to hedge their own rates during the day, which basically means they didn't know what was going to happen before the end of the day shut off, so they had to hedge themselves 1/8 to 1/4 just in the market during the day because they didn't know where if they could get
moving target.
Yeah, if they could get things placed by the end of the day. So I say to you this. If you are right now signing loan documents or have just signed some loan documents that have anything with a 3 in them, you should drive down to your lender right now and thank them profusely for honoring your lock. And this is the part where I always like to get back a little bit and say, remember when we locked and you asked me if rates go down, could I move my lock down? And I now will ask you, rates are 4.5 and your lock says 3.6. Can I move my lock up? Is that okay? And now for the rest of you, and I have some clients that were, I had originally quoted them 3.8. I'm talking about weeks ago, not months ago now, and they were going to shop around and see if they could get 3.7. And when I spoke to them yesterday on the particular investment property, it was at 5. Mm-hmm. And so, and you almost have got to have this reminder slap upside your head because I've been here and I've done it before. I've seen it, and it doesn't feel good. And when rates get down like that 3.7 and 3.6 and 3.5, when someone tells me, geez, I'd really like to hold out and see if we can get 3.3, I look at them and say, what the hell is wrong with you? Do you know that 5.3 is more likely than 3.3? But I don't say that, except on the radio. And I say, well, good luck with that. But in perspective, the difference between 3.3 and 3.5 isn't going to mean squat to you.
Mm-hmm.
But people did it because there's a perception that things will stay static, and rightfully so. I mean, they've been incredibly low for a long time. There just hasn't been a lot of movement. But boy, and when the bubble pops, and this is a bubble, and it has popped, it goes real fast. So we'll talk about some of the things we saw this week in the markets. We'll talk about some strategies for what do you do if now you're stuck in that. You brought up some of those in our meeting yesterday. Mm-hmm. Some other alternatives. It's not the end of the world. We're under 5%, and I've said ad nauseum here before. I used to produce like a flying banner behind a jet, and when rates went, ended up into the fives, they came down in the fives. We were like,
exactly.
We're in the fives. We're in the fives. I mean, this is phenomenal. And now it's like, it's like we had poisoned a whole series of people. But anywho, we'll talk about that. Yes, 530 Larry Ellison could pass gas worth $100 million. That is for sure. And he's going to have to, because the city of San Francisco may want him to come up with some of that money. Did you see Larry Ellison bought the island over there in Lanai? We'll talk about that. I actually printed that out. He is resurrecting the island of Lanai. It's going to be, I actually want to go over there and see it now, but we'll cover that a different day. We got to take a break. Got all kinds of questions here on Central Europe and Slovakia. And in Slovakia, the standard duration of parental leave is 3 years for a father. Well, it wasn't on our list. And if it ain't on our list, it doesn't exist. But you might be right. Send me a link there, 916, to the Slovakian 3-year father thing, and I'll give you some River Cats tickets just for your effort. That is a small education right there. I wouldn't have had that otherwise this morning.
3 years. I'm telling my wife we're not going to Sweden now.
We're going to Slovakia?
We're going to Slovakia.
Okay, 339-1140 is our number here, 1-800-920-1140. We got another quiz question for you. You can text us at 441140 if you'd like to. Got phone lines open if you want to jump in today, too. Let me know your experiences. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. It won't shock me at all. In fact, we had a couple calls 2 weeks ago saying, well, I was locked in the low threes, and I'm not hearing back from my lender. And I'm telling you right now, many of the lenders who are not in your neighborhood, who you don't know, it's a business decision not to fund your loan. Mm-hmm. Because you take a $300,000 loan right now that's locked at 3.5 or 3.6, that lender's probably losing $7,000 to $9,000 on your one loan, losing $7,000 to $9,000 to fund your loan. So if they're not returning your call, someone has made a business decision. We're not going to honor those locks. We don't do that at our company here, but you're dealing with somebody who's back east or down south. You don't know who they are. They're never met them. They don't know who you are. You don't know how to find them.
They're just a call away.
Just a call away. They've made a call. We're not funding your loan.
Yep.
And from a business decision, I understand it. From a numbers decision, from an ongoing business decision, I don't understand it. But anyway. What do you got there, Mike?
A typical American day. This is how much time we spend on different activities, right? So, for example, sleeping, we spend about 8 hours and 44 minutes.
Is that the most?
That's the most.
8 hours. Okay.
All right. So, what is the least amount of time spent on an activity? All right. So,
give me the time. How much time do they do?
It's 10 minutes a day on average. This is on an activity that we're spending. This one.
I don't get this.
I didn't get this one at all.
This person doesn't work. This person doesn't work with me. I mean, I probably sleep, and then I do this activity. Sinner. Okay, not that activity. The other activity, as much as that. So 10 minutes throughout the day, and I don't get it.
10 minutes.
I don't get it. So which activity is the least time spent during the day? If you know that, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. 8 hours and 40 minutes sleeping and only 10 minutes doing this?
10 minutes.
No way.
I don't believe it.
I do 10 minutes at a time doing this.
Exactly.
This is Talkin' Money. Mike Farrar, Jeff Tarbell. We're going to be right back, Jack.
Talkin' Money.
And we're back. It's Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
How you doing? 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text me at 441140. Mike is talking about the average day. They broke a a chart down into, was it 1 minute segments? Is that what they did?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty close to that.
So the average person sleeps 8.4 hours a day, and then they go. So give me some other things, Mike. Like what else?
Watching television, 2 hours, 50 minutes.
Okay.
That doesn't surprise me.
Mm-mm.
Caring for household members, 31 minutes. I don't think the stay-at-home moms would agree with that.
Right.
Shopping, 43 minutes a day. Eating and drinking, hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
But our question was, was it 10 minutes?
10 minutes, least amount of time spent in a day.
And it'll be if you work or it's just I do not get it. So I guess it's got to take everybody from a retired person to a baby or all of it. So anyway, so 10 minutes is all we spend doing this per day. And as I mentioned, if you are employed, there's no way you probably do that 10 minutes out of every 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the least time spent as an average person doing? At 10 minutes, we'll let that hang a little bit longer if you want to jump in. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Some tickets to the Hellwig Winery. You can go up there and see Little Texas if you want to check them out, and River Cats if you want to go catch some baseball. Chris, are you following the River Cats? How are they doing on schedule on their win loss?
I don't know.
Perfect. Thank you for putting your headphones on and replying.
What is pretty funny is a couple years ago, someone would call every Saturday and say, "Hey, do you know if the River Cats won?" And I would say, "I don't know." And this went on for months. And then finally I told the guy, I'm like, nobody here watches the River Cats, so stop calling.
Well, there's also Google, and you can go on the website too. So I haven't. Last time I saw they were in first place, but we'll check it out. I am going to be out there. I think next Saturday we're taking family out there for a little evening, so that'll be fun too. So we'll let our quiz question hang out there. 10 minutes a day, only doing this, and that is a total lie. It's so far-fetched, that's why we're probably not getting an answer. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Hey, check this out. The best return on your money. Right now, if you put money in the bank, you get like 0.0 nothing. And you'll be lucky if you don't go backwards. You can get a guaranteed 2% return on your money by doing this. And this is putting your money in a impound account with your lender. By law in California, your lender is required to pay a 2% return on your money. And oh, by the way, the lender is not allowed to put your money in an interest-bearing account unless they get your approval first. And that becomes really one of the largest returns on investment you can find right now. This is out of Rob Christman's article this morning, a 2% return. People always ask me, should I do an impound account? They get to use your money for free. No, they don't.
They don't. They have to pay.
They got to pay you 2%, and you won't make that money anywhere else anyway. And quite frankly, having an impound account, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, that means putting money on reserve with your lender for taxes and insurance. And each month you make a 1/12 payment of your taxes and your insurance, and then twice a year or once a year for insurance. They pay the bill for you. Quite frankly, I've always done it just because it's just, when does the tax bill come due? The two worst times of the year. Christmas, right before Christmas, and right before your April 15th, your taxes are due. Just about, they couldn't do it like July, and it's got to be the two worst times of the year when your property taxes come due. So there you go. If you want a 2% return on your money, I don't know. Ask your lender. Can I just put in like an extra $20,000 in my impound account? see how
overpay it.
Yeah, I'm going to overpay a little bit, and you guys could just hold on to that and pay me.
We just got a $70 deposit to ours, and I called the bank and asked if I could withdraw and take my family to dinner, but
no,
they said
wouldn't let you do.
No.
Are you sure the answer isn't going to the bathroom? Is going to the bathroom on your list there of minute? Is that on your chart?
That may fall under other activities of 14 minutes.
Oh, that could be.
Personal care, 45 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, see, if you look under education and reading, then you that's probably where it falls in that section there. A good 20 minutes. So,
yeah.
Twitter, ? No, but Twitter, you are getting into the right concept.
Close.
You're getting in the right area of personal activity. It doesn't. So you're in the field of play there, 916, with our questions. So we'll let that hang out there a little bit more. Mike, we were talking before the break there about this last week.
Mm-hmm. Mortgage rates.
And this is pretty indicative, this little chart. The forecast of volatility, same-day swings of at least 200 points by the Dow Jones, and they go back from January this year. So it had at least that's 200 points, either up or down. Okay, so that's just volatility going good or bad. There was one on January 2nd, one on February 25th, and again on the 27th, and then one on April 15th. And then there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them in 5 days in June. 200-point swings in the Dow Jones. So it is a indication that the winds are a-changing.
Yep.
And the hard part is, quite honestly, people have been asking me this week, what happened? What did they do? What did they say? Really, they didn't say anything different. And they being, the Fed or Bernanke or whoever, they said the same thing they've been saying, which is basically, we're going to have to tame this down a little bit, our investments in purchasing bonds, and basically are propelling and propping up a economy that was not doing so well. And they just kind of reiterated, and they said, hey, it's not going to be tomorrow, but it's going to be probably sooner than later. And we would hope that by this time next year, if our unemployment is here, and if inflation is here, and and things keep going the way they are, we'd probably like to get out of this business altogether. And what they're talking about is the continual buying. They're buying about $85 billion a month in bonds. And the other part is they're also holding a tremendous amount of mortgage notes and bonds.
Tremendous. Yeah.
And the fact that they're the largest holder, I think even more than China now.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing they said was, hey, we're not going to unload these and put them back on the market and flood the market with them. We'll sit on them a little bit. Well, maybe we'll eke some of them out. But mortgages do one thing for certain. They come due. They either people pay them off or they refinance, and so they're naturally going to be able to get rid of them because they're going to be paid off. So there wasn't any one thing you could point to and go, oh my God, look at what he said and look what he did and look what they caused. I think what finally happened is that now the market and everybody really believes them. Yeah, this is going to come to an end. And what happens is with any sort of investment is if you buy at one point, and particularly in bonds, and you buy something that's paying 2%, let's just use a number, and then you believe that 6 months from now everybody else is going to be getting 4%, which now you can see is a very realistic possibility. Your 2% bond isn't worth as much as you paid for it. So you don't want to be the last person standing going around, going, hey, I'm going to keep buying all this stuff at this price when I could get double next month. So eventually it just starts to kind of tumble.
Mm-hmm.
And when one goes, they kind of all go. And then the stock market, in simplified terms, looks over here and goes, okay, they're telling us the economy is doing well. Okay, that should be good for me. And companies seem to be making some money. That should be good for me. But if rates go real high, then the consumer might get a little sketchy. And house prices and house activity might slow down a little bit. That might get a little slower. That's not so good. If the consumer gets sketchy, really everything we've been seeing right now is the consumer's motivation to buy a new car and to do things. And then will companies stop hiring new people because they're So it is a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, do you see anything different, Mike? I mean, how did you view last week?
Well, I think the positive thing that happened is a lot of buyers that were sitting on the fence. Well, I'm waiting for that better note rate that you were talking about earlier. I want the 3.3 versus 3.5. Well, now their affordability is going to start moving. So they're like, all of a sudden, all the agents we had lunch dates with are calling saying, hey, I'm going to have to cancel the lunch date. I'm out on the road literally showing 40 homes in the next 2 days.
Yeah.
So consumer confidence was there, but Bernanke was not transparent. He never went into a Fed meeting laying all the cards out on the table. Well, this time he did. He goes, look, this is a reality. They didn't say they're not going to buy bonds. They just said they're slowing of.
Yeah.
Right? So affordability is going to move. Price point's going to move. But people are now, the fence sitters, we call them, are now in the position to start looking at real estate. And for people that can't sell their house yet, but they want to rent, it's a healthy rental market. So there's a lot of positives happening. So the best thing to remember is 2 years ago, rates were in the same position as they are today. We just got, very favorable rates over the last 2 years. But when we bought our house in 2011, we paid 4.5%.
Yeah.
That's where rates are today. I was ecstatic about 4.5. because it was at 5% 6 months before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. I think that if you want to take the analogy of someone who's addicted to drugs or alcohol or heroin or whatever you want to do, that coming off that period, I got, and you see that in a lot of analogies in the paper, is that, our economy has been stimulated by artificial drug use. I mean, it was just, pumping money and pumping, enthusiasm into it that wasn't really there. It's not real. And if you're going to wean off of that, and having not had an addiction to any drug, but having seen certainly people who haven't, that shaking and the sweating and the nightmares, and I mean we're now starting to get a little bit of the sweats and the shakes and the nightmares, and that's going to take some time, and then we're going to realize that. I mentioned this yesterday. People are going to consumers are going to have to come to the fact that rates aren't in the 3s, and there's going to be a hell of a shock when you called. Hey, I talked to Mike. Last time I talked to Mike last month, I was looking around. He quoted me 3 3/4, and no points. And today I call him up, and he tells me 4 3/4.5 cost. I mean, whoa, it's going to be a little bit of a shock. I think that people will get over it. Does it make a huge difference in your payment? No, it isn't fun, but it's not. Generally, won't take a person who qualified and make them not qualify. I think you're right. I think it's going to put a little bit of kick in the butt.
Yes,
but part of me says, you know what? At least all the clients I'm dealing with, they're already kicking themselves in the butt because they'd love to find a house. Show me one that someone will accept my offer. I'll buy it.
Correct.
And so now where it's like I almost feel like we're rubbing a little bit of salt in their wounds. It's like, you didn't get your house yet, and by the way, your rate went up a point. I hope we don't it doesn't discourage them.
I agree with that.
That's the part that maybe bothers me the most. Although I am starting to see a little bit more inventory coming up on the market too, and I think that for a couple reasons, and we'll talk about some more of that after the break. One you just mentioned, house prices have been coming up and up. That's going to do two big things. There's a lot of people that were sitting, right about 100% loan to value or just a little bit over, who now have some equity, who are locked out of refinancing because they weren't HARP approved, and they're sitting there. I just talked to a guy yesterday. He's at 6 3/4. 6 3/4. I mean, 3% above where the market's been forever. And now he's finally looking around going, hey, a couple sales have occurred and I can actually refinance. So for him to say you can get 4 3/4, he's like, woohoo!
Exactly. Or they felt it was too difficult to get a loan.
Yeah.
But that's one of the nice things about the Fed easing on purchase of bonds is private money is going to come back again. And I personally feel it's not that difficult to get a loan if you have the right lender and they know how to structure it. But that's a perception right now. It's very difficult to get a mortgage loan. No, we ask you for documentation, but it's not necessarily difficult. But what it's doing is it's going to bring the private sector in, and we will get some more favorable loan programs.
Yeah, so, I agree. Okay, Chris, how much time we got before we got to take the break there? We got to go. I'll come back to this too. But they did a survey of people who are searching for houses online, and they have the early birds and the late birds. And again, Sacramento makes the list. So we'll let this hang out there. This is not a quiz question, but just you can text me. Or what do you think Sacramento was? They had people that were searching between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m., or the late birds were searching between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. So where do you think Sacramento fell on the list? Are we early birds or late birds when it comes to searching for homes on the internet? 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 44-1140 if you want to jump in with your questions or concerns. Has something happened to you this week? Did your loan suddenly uniquely fall through because you were locked in the 3s, or you got some questions? We can take those as well. We'll talk a little property management when we come back too. Got all kinds of things to cover for hour number 2. Chris did get the answer right. This was on the answer on the time spent. What was the answer for 10 minutes?
10 minutes was phone calls, mail, and email.
BS.
No way.
Barbara Streisand.
Yep.
Each one of my calls takes 10 minutes.
An email alone. Smartphones, we're attached to technology.
I know.
I would say I probably spend less than 10 minutes on all of those.
You do?
Yeah.
No wonder. That's why he never calls you back.
That's it.
Who calls anymore? It's mostly text now.
Well, that's true. But that's considered probably in that category too. This is Talkin' Money. Hey, hour 2 of 2 is coming up next. Don't move, Jack. We're going to come find you. We'll be right back.
See ya.
Talkin' Money.
And we're back to Talkin' Money. And here's Jeff Tarbell.
Yeah, that's me. You all settled in there, Mike?
I'm good.
You
hear me?
I can hear you. That actually microphone sounds a little better than the other one over there. Maybe you're just concentrating harder now.
Yeah, that must be it.
Or your DJ voice is all kicked in for hour 2.
I was practicing in the hallway.
Was that what you were doing? I was like, we're on break, dude. Shut up. Anyway, we got a full studio now. Ryan's back in. Ryan's the one that follows around, takes pictures and tweets us usually when we're on the road. So and Ryan brought a friend. Ryan came out to play today. Brought a friend with him. Chris from CJA Property Management has joined us. Chris, how you doing?
I'm good, Jeff. How you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. We're here.
What time zone are you on?
We're here. Yeah, I'm still a little bit trying to play catch up there, but I'll catch it.
Good.
I said during the break, we didn't do a quiz question, but we did get an answer to the answer to our question there, which Mike and I found unbelievable, quite frankly, was the least amount of time spent was 10 minutes out of the block time, and that was for emails, phone calls, and what else?
Phone calls, mail, and email.
But do they have a separate category for internet surfing or anything like that? Because we get a lot of internet. No,
that
must be in the other category.
It could fall under others.
It could. So we did get a winner for that. So we have some more quiz questions as we go through the show here. I left this out before the break, and you didn't have to reply. It was just for curiosity's sake. House hunters looking online, and they did a website analysis, and they came up with 2 categories. What was our phone screener's guess there? Phone screener. Did you guess early morning or late night for Sacramento? In the morning? Yep, you would be right. So percentage of searches occurring from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. This is for searching for homes. Bellingham, Washington was at 28% of them were in the morning. Palm Springs, Anchorage, Sacramento, and Irvine, California were the top 5 morning searchers. And the evening searchers, anybody want to guess the number 1 evening searcher? The city that never sleeps?
New York.
NYC, Austin, Texas, Philadelphia, and Atlanta and Memphis, Tennessee were your top searchers for, and they were only like in the 17%. So a lot of West Coast people searching in the morning for homes. So there you go. If you want your house to appear, make sure it's at least on the internet by 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
And speaking of that, we'll get into a little property management stuff too. If you want a higher price to your house, you need to use some fancier verbiage. Those are letters and words for those of you who don't know what verbiage means.
Verbiage.
Verbage. The word of words, a look at the length of real estate agents' remarks based on the median character count in current home listings. Generally, the more expensive the listing, the longer the remarks. So, if you want to get your house up, Zillow says it's worth $200, but you want $550 for it, you need to get a book out and start writing some things.
This is a super califragilistic listing here.
Make up words, because you need to get up to around 500 characters, because the average house price under $100,000 only uses about 250 characters. The average house price at $1 million and over uses 500 characters. So you need to get creative. This is not Yes, and using the same word 5 times does not count, Ryan. Very, 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 very cool. Yeah. This is antelope, and putting 4 N's in the antelope does not make it a longer count. So, yes, you need to tell your agent. For example, the $4.89 million house, Sprawling Breezeways, has 696 character descriptions in Captiva, Florida. Property went into contract after 38 days for $4.3 million. So, Sprawling Breezeways, I'm going to give you that word. If you can come up with your better description for your house, I will take it. You can text me the best description of your property. Well, actually, you know what? We'll give you some River Cats tickets. We'll take the best verbiage you can come up with for your house, and it has to be in one text line. I don't want to see like 55. I don't want 696 characters. Give me the best one description of your house, the key word that describes how you would market your place. Mine would be free, and you can have it. Right now, I am digging a hole that is filling itself with water. I'm going to call it a pool. Most people call it I don't know what
Quicksand.
they call it. That's exactly. Quicksand. So give me your best on the text line 441140. Your best marketing description, your keyword, your bullet point. This one was Sprawling Breezes. No, Sprawling Breezes.
Breezeway.
Sprawling Breezeways.
And you can't use supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Right.
That one's already taken.
I mean, if you can spell that, you're so. Well, give me your on 441140. Give me your keyword. It doesn't necessarily have to apply to your house, but if you're a realtor, you want to market your house. What is that keyword you would use for attracting Ryan to your property? Because he's got out of this room. Is the only guy who has any money. That's probably the guy in the corner there who's not talking. So. Chris is in. Chris is from CJ Property Management. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, and I don't say the house is small. I say it's cozy.
Cozy.
It's cozy. That's
petite.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
So you're doing the same thing for marketing your property.
Sure, absolutely. When we put a property up for rent, we have to write an ad. A lot of times, if it's been listed or recently sold, we'll sneak into MLS and see what the other guys wrote, and then just kind of modify it.
Right.
Other than that, I got to start from scratch. But yeah, I have a little book that somewhere in the office that has all those replacement words in it. Yeah. Don't say small. It's cozy.
Yeah.
It's if it's not updated, it's classic.
If the toilet doesn't work, it's a urinal, right. Or an outhouse, or a bucket in the corner,
or needs a little TLC.
Lots of trees nearby.
That's right. Yeah. Paul Revere used to work here. That was the one thing I learned when I was in Boston, by the way. So Paul Revere, that guy had like 9 jobs and 16 kids, by the way. Did you know he had 16 kids? One of his jobs was to go around to your house and make sure that the privy was dumped. The privy is the toilet bucket, and if they didn't want it leaching out of, I don't know why, if it's in your house, why I care if your toilet is overflowing. But that was one of his jobs. I digress. I apologize. The Paul Revere once lived here would be you need to fix the toilet. So I was thinking this morning about your industry in general, and I was trying to figure out, okay, is the property management business picking up? Because all these clients of ours that are trying to buy houses are getting beat out by people that are coming in all cash and buying investments. So is everything moving into the investment pool, or has the market picked up enough and everybody's like me who are unwilling and unwanted investment owners who are trying to say we can now finally dump the house and get out of here? So where's the sway?
It's the most dynamic market I've ever seen, Jeff, in the last year and a half. We had a pretty stable thing happening before the big hedge funds came in. Mm-hmm. Rents were kind of settled in. They'd been pretty stable. They were actually starting to go up a little bit. And then, Blackstone and all the companies came in and started dumping a lot of product on the market. That cash buyer seems to be slowing down now. Mm-hmm. The flippers aren't nearly as happy as they were. So our what we've seen in the rental business is that there was always a fixed number of renters out there, and so the supply of product on the market, as it increased, we kind of saw rents going down. But lately, I'm going to say the last 3 months, it's been a huge influx of applications. That is, people out looking to rent a home, and at the same time, a huge onslaught of vacancies, new homes put on the market, people doing the buy and hold thing. Mm-hmm. So property management business is crazy right now. It's just insane.
This relates to that. I was trying to figure out what this meant, because they give a chart called demolition of homes or formation of homes, and it doesn't mean the demolition of the actual structure itself. They mean actually home units, people either moving in and buying a new home or moving in with their family, basically, and they're projecting the creation of new housing formations. So basically that would mean, so for example, if you had an adult kid that was still living with his parents, when he moves out and gets his own place, that's a formation of a housing unit. And now this article was talking about, it was really relating to housing starts and saying, we don't have enough inventory of homes to have all these new people that are either finally moving out of their parents' house and getting their own place, or just naturally growing up and getting their property. There isn't enough units to cover them.
I agree with that. And also, I think that there was a time maybe 8-9 months ago where a lot of people who hadn't purchased and could, the first-time buyers were, let's do this. They've calmed down, and they're like, I'm going to rent for a little while. And, you see these articles coming out in the Bee, and is it better to rent or better to own? A lot of those lean towards renting, as being a better deal. And so even some people I know who've lost their home, a lot of these clients, they had a foreclosure, they've gone through the 3 years, they can buy a home. They're just thinking, I'm going to kind of sit here for a minute, because they feel like, the bubble, it's hurt and scared a lot of people, didn't it?
Yeah.
So a lot of them are just choosing to rent right now.
So did you see, particularly from maybe maybe as far back as 08, 09, but did you see like a little better quality in tenants because you had all these former homeowners, not all of them, but a fair number, former homeowners who had to become tenants. They lost their house to foreclosure, short sale, and I always thought that from someone who owns some rentals that I would rather have a tenant who was a former homeowner. Because if the toilet gets backed up, they know how to fix. They used to do that. Right. They know how to maintain a place, and it seems like you maybe get a little better quality in it. Did you see that for in general? Or
and it happened very quickly as well. Because remember when 06 and 07, when everyone could buy a home no matter what, I couldn't find a tenant. I mean, it was just we could hardly get somebody to apply for. Why rent when you can just sign your name and buy?
Right.
When that changed. Yes, we saw a very dramatic shift in maybe 8 or 9 months to where all of a sudden we had these guys making 10, 12 grand a month everywhere, coming out renting nice homes, renting medium homes, renting antelope homes, making 10. The applications, the quality went up. They're staying for 2 or 3 years. So that's where I say we got into this long kind of stability plan, and then the rents, the inventory got used up a little bit. So we started raising rents. Well, that all changed when the buyers came in and started doing buy and hold. So, but yes, you're right. The quality has gone up. Even right now, quality is very good for the most part. I'd much rather have a home for rent right now than 9 months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people know that if they had a foreclosure or credit damage in the past to buy a new home, we're going to validate their rental history.
Right.
So they know that if they're not paying their rent on time, why are they going to be paying their mortgage on time?
Yeah,
so I think that helps.
But he's talking about not only did your check come on time, he's talking about the quality of taking care of the place.
Yeah, taking care of it, having great income, not seeing people go to foreclosure, because they can't afford it. And people who are also. Here's the key, I think. They used to have good credit when they bought that. A lot of them did have good credit, and now it's destroyed, and they don't like that, so now they're trying to work their way back. So when they get in trouble, lose their job, or get a pay cut, they're not just hanging out till I evict them. They're coming in the office saying, what can I do here to help my credit, and how can you help me get out of this? And so we can work with them.
Yeah.
That's great.
And we got to take a break here in a second, but as a property manager, so you guys have to make your job for your clients is to find a good quality tenant.
Right.
But looking at someone's credit score may not be indicative of their overall credit history, because if they had a bankruptcy or foreclosure because of a house, that it's going to look worse than it really is.
We have to look at if their credit score is why. People ask me all the time, I have bad credit, will you rent to me? Especially during that foreclosure, when it first started that process. They say, I have a foreclosure, will you still rent to me? And the answer was, well, yes, or I'm going to have 90% of my homes vacant.
Right.
So when I see a 575 credit score, my question is why. So we look at why. If it's because they don't pay their Visa, their PG&E, and their car, and that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if they've got everything pretty clean, but they've got a house, and frankly a medical, sometimes a medical issue, they're as good as not having that. As far as they're good as gold.
Yeah.
If they got the income, I'll look right past that credit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, we got the other Chris. There's Chris behind you too. So I'm looking. There's two Chris's in a row. So Chris A and Chris B. Chris, we're going to go ahead and take our first break. Do you have more quiz questions there?
I have a couple.
Oh, jeez, go.
So this one is about best-selling novel. Okay. So what family has the #1 best-selling novel right now? So not an individual author, but this is a family that got together and wrote a book. So what is the name of that family?
They have a TV show too, I think.
They have a TV show too. So
yeah. And I have not seen the TV show, but I thought I saw somewhere there was 10 million viewers of their season finale. I mean, it was. So Ryan over there in the corner, he knows it.
Well, they drew an average of 8.4 million per episode.
Wow.
Average.
So if you know the family or the name of the book, or you name either one of the family members, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 44-1140. We've got Little Texas concert tickets for Hellwig Winery for July. We've got some River Cats tickets, Roundtable Pizza. We still got our ongoing text question. What's that impactful selling statement for selling your house? We've got one on sweeping country vistas. I like that. What is the word you would best use to describe your property? We'll pick out a random winner off that as well. This is Talkin' Money. Mike, Chris, Ryan, the other Chris, Mars, Jeff. We got a full house. I forgot. You know what? I didn't even mention your birthday earlier, did I? That was last week. Our phone screener's birthday. It's delayed, but we'll get back. We'll have a full segment on her birthday. We'll be right back.
the action continues on Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Right. How you doing? Speaking of Def Leppard, I got that shirt on now. I'm part of the band, man.
Nice.
I know. I carry the drum set in the back. Our quiz question before the break was this family, multi-millionaires, by the way, if you've ever seen them. They look like ZZ Top, but they are not. But they probably make more money than ZZ Top right now. How many? 1-point-something million books just between the two of them? And
1.3 million.
Yeah.
600,000 Duck Commander Duck calls.
Yeah, there you go. And the Duck Dynasty is the TV show. 10 million people tuned in for the season finale. I have, quite frankly, have not seen the show. I'm familiar with the show, but I have not watched one. During the break, there's another fun fact, as my daughter always likes to say for you. The only two shows that what?
Two American shows that have to use subtitles to understand.
That's not Duck Dynasty.
It wasn't Duck Dynasty.
What were the other shows?
It's the Swamp People and then the Honey Boo Boo show. It's like, like, I don't know what he said. Oh, there's a subtitle. That's pretty funny.
There you go. More useless trivia, which is really what it just says on my business card, by the way. My name is Jeff, full of useless trivia. And there you go. So we'll do one more quiz question at the last break of the hour. And we're giving out, I think we give away all our tickets for the concert today, but we do have some River Cats baseball and, of course, some Round Table Pizza if you're into that. If you're just tuning in, Chris with CJA Property Management has joined us, and we're just kind of going through kind of where the market's gone and going. And you mentioned something that I've brought up a few times, Chris, which was the whole Blackstone Group and their acquisition of a tremendous number of, they're not the only ones, but they're the bigger ones.
Right.
Acquisition of a tremendous number of homes that what Mike and I would label in the sweet spot. Mm-hmm. You know, prices that were, $150 to $250,
Yep.
and they were from Elk Grove to Roseville to Antelope to you name it. I mean, they were the houses that right now, if we had 100 of them, we'd have 100 of them sold before they even hit the market.
3 and 2s, attached garages, everything's on city.
Yep.
No septics, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Family centric homes.
Yep.
So what do you know about that? Like what has that done to your market? What has it done to the rental market? I know what it's done to the housing market. And some people will tell you, even if you read Wall Street Journal and local articles, they'll say, well, thank God for those companies because they came in and they sucked up a lot of the inventory when it needed to be taken, away. Because it kept it from going into foreclosure. And I agree with that. And now part of me says that I guess I have a two-pronged approach to that. One of them is that the big banks of the world went to a Blackstone and said, "Look, we'll say 100 homes for this price." And it'd be one thing if the loss, they take a loss and they absorb it and they go on their own way. That's their business decision. But a lot of those, when they went back to the government and said, "Oh, we lost all this money on these houses, and we want you to, we want you to refund us some money, from or different insurance, PMI things, all those things too." Where had you sold them individually, it would have taken you a little longer, but you'd have got probably 40% more, particularly now. Mm-hmm. So part of me has a problem with that, but so it's a good and a bad. What's your take on the whole?
Well, I mean, I agree with you on that, but remember, you said they bought a lot of homes, prevented foreclosures. Well, they bought a lot of those homes from the banks after foreclosures, though, too.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think that probably one of the best things I think that Blackstone and the others did is they took away all these vacant homes. Remember driving through Lincoln and seeing row after row of dead lawn, broken windows. Okay, they cleaned that up, didn't they? That helped out. I took economics in college, one class like everybody else, and I remember the whole supply and demand curve and how price was. And I thought, oh boy, because Blackstone came in, they're going to buy 1,000 homes in this area. And I thought, man, they're going to dump 1,000 rentals. We're going to be renting 3 and 2s for $500, you know. That didn't happen. Prices didn't really drop because of that. And Blackstone is now up to 1,800 homes in this area. Still buying, not as aggressively, but they're still buying, and so are other similar companies. So it has not affected the price as much as I thought. It's more stabilized it. It stopped it from rising. We were getting into a little period of rent increasing there. Yeah. That stopped that, but it didn't really kill it. I'll tell you what, in some areas, we never did see a decline. In fact, there's still areas of Sacramento that are going up in rent.
Give me some examples.
Okay, Rockland. Let's imagine, and this has been true for the last 4 years. Let's say that you live in Rockland, you bought a home in Rockland, you signed your name, you put nothing down, you got one of these, you paid $800,000. Your kids are in school in Rockland, and you lose your home. Guess where you want to stay?
You're not leaving Rockland.
You ain't leaving
not
Rockland.
leaving.
And so you are willing to look around, and when I put something for rent in Rockland, even in the worst part of this, I would get multiple applications. I would bump the rent $200. The landlords would go up $200 because, and we'd get applications and rent it. Now that's true for, let's see, Rockland, Roseville, Folsom, even Lincoln, Granite Bay. A lot of these nicer. Not true for a place like Citrus Heights. Not true for Orangevale and these where somebody's loses their Orangevale home under Citrus Heights. Yeah, they'll move over to Carmichael. They'll slide over to Sacramento. They'll take the kids across town. But in these other areas, people will pay. So people say, well, did rents go up or down? Well, it depends on what you're talking about.
Yeah,
because some areas they just kept going up, and some areas, some of the older areas did get hurt. Citrus Heights, for example, that dropped a good 10%, and it's stable.
Yeah.
So, but that's typical of a lot of the older areas around town.
So who's your typical client? And by I don't mean tenant, but I mean owner.
Oh, typical owner?
Is it someone who's got a dozen properties and they just sick and tired of picking up the phone at night, or they got one?
No, my typical owner. I'm going to say, we call them the reluctant landlord.
That's me.
Yeah. Okay. So it's they bought some homes and they planned on they were going to sell them when the market kept going. It didn't. Or perhaps they just bought one home. Maybe they put 20%, but they got a job transfer. They can't sell it because they're upside down. So they're living in Cincinnati or something, and they got this rental they don't like, and maybe they're break even, or maybe I talked to a guy yesterday who's $800 a month negative. He's been doing it since 2005. I said, you sure you want to keep doing this?
Why are we doing it?
Yeah. And he's got a long way to go, but that I call the reluctant landlord probably makes up 50% of my clientele, which is a little scary for me because I've got this business that but a lot of those owners are now able to sell and they're still keeping the property and they're thinking, hey, this isn't half bad. I think I'm going to keep doing this. So, but I got a good 20% that are saying the day that baby breaks even, Chris, you let me know. I want out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am starting to have that conversation now with clients, and Plymouth Lake is a good example of an area where they just got hammered. And Plymouth Lake is up between Marysville and here, and was having a conversation with a client yesterday, as a matter of fact, and the exact same conversation is like a year ago. If you just said, they probably would have said, the minute it breaks even, let me know, because I am the hell out of here. And now I'm telling her yesterday, she's like, I said, you probably could sell that and get about $30,000 in your pocket, which would help buy the next house you're looking at, and now they're looking like, yeah, but I held on to this thing for so darn long, and now they start. They don't want to jump off the ship too early, so it is a little bit of it's kind of a funny change of mentality. It's like, okay, you've been kicking me in the head for 2 years now. Now that you're patting me on the back, I don't want this to stop either. So
there's the capital gains issue too. Once you've been out of that house, what, two and a half years, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a total of a 5-year period.
Yeah,
right?
So it has to be a primary 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5. So once you hit that 3-year mark, then they're really flipping the decision coin. And when they keep it, well, they're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of clients who didn't think they were going to keep it and have decided, you know what, this isn't too bad, and so they're keeping it. So they started out as a reluctant landlord, and now they're calming down. But that's about half my clientele. Maybe 20% are people out there who own multiple. It's just not. It's maybe more than that. Maybe it's 40%. I haven't looked, but those are really the primary clients that I have. The primary number.
Yeah, and if you have followed this radio show for a number of years, you might recall that my wife and I used to own a property management company years ago, and I can assure you.
I didn't know that.
I can assure you, it is a job you don't want.
I didn't know that.
And dealing with, and that's one of the people always say, well, property management is so expensive, and our model was at the time was to kind of come in a little cheaper price, and you get what you pay for sure. And it just taking that burden of dealing with tenants. You're dealing with the most important thing that matters to them. Whether just because they don't own the home doesn't mean it isn't important to them. Like you said, your kids have to be in a certain school district.
Sure.
You hear their entire life story about everything, about why they can't pay, about how come this, how come that. You realize the people who you wouldn't think would be otherwise are big friggin' slobs. And some of them are, and so dealing with that, for me, that's where kind of the burnout comes, from is changing the carpets and repainting when they leave, and so finding a good quality tenant is so critical. It doesn't it's not going to be guaranteed, but it's so critical, and I think using a professional management company relieves a lot of that from you.
Yeah,
it doesn't relieve the fact that if it goes vacant, you still got to make your house payment, but you're going to do that anyway. But at least you don't have to filter through the Craigslists and the different things and listen to the sob stories or deal with the calls and the questions.
Well, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, the rules surrounding landlord-tenant law, the laws, the new laws that have come into play now. I think there was over 100 passed last year in California. It's created a situation where it truly, I know a lot of people do it themselves and they feel like I've done it for 20 years, I can keep doing this. But when they come to me and they finally say, I think I'll turn it over to you, I want to go, tour, travel a little more, I look at what they're doing and there's so much exposure, so much liability they're exposed to. They've really been more lucky than smart in the last 5-6 years that they haven't had their pantsuit off, because it is so... there's just so easy to accidentally discriminate. It's so easily to overlook some requirement that was passed and you weren't aware of it, 3 months ago. It's a lot like there used to be a lot of for sale by owners, didn't there? A lot of people would sell their home themselves. They felt very capable. You don't see that much anymore. You still see it with landlords. They figure they can do it themselves. And it's really becoming quite specialized. And some of the legal cases that I read about, that I've even personally seen landlords get into, because a lot of times they'll call me in the middle of that and then tell me what happened. And it's so sad to see. They could have just so easily avoided this $200,000 lawsuit that they've just spent $30,000 defending themselves. And it all could have been avoided with a simple clause that has been common knowledge to us for the past 3 years, and they didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And so they got hooked.
Maybe we'll give out a couple of those tips after the break there.
Sure.
We're going to take one more quick break for the show today. 339-1140 if you want to jump in. 1-800-920-1140. You can text me. My text line is still going. I'm looking for your biggest selling statement. What is the keywords you'd use to sell a house or your house? We've got sweeping country vista. We've got topless cheerleader gardener included. We've got all kinds of things. So what was the keyword you would use to sell your property? You can text us at 441140. We got one more quiz question from Miguel.
Last question. So what company did Nick Woodman create? Okay, so last year had $526 million, and it's expected this year too in annual revenue. Yeah, so that's annual revenue.
And when he first created it, I didn't like the product. I thought it made you look dorky.
Yep.
And now everybody in the world has one who does particularly extreme athletes, or some guy who wants to look extreme, or Ryan when he's just riding his bicycle down the street. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Nick Woodman?
Yep, Nick Woodman. Woodman Labs.
Yep, created it when he was in his, 20s, late 20s?
Mid to late 20s.
Now they're doing about $500 million a year in sales, and I think he's the only sole owner of that.
Sole owner. 26 years old when he started.
Yep, he's 37 now. So you'll see him at every major sporting event and everywhere on TV too. So, and if I don't give away too much. Nick Woodman, who is he? 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 441140. This is Talkin' Money. We're going to take a quick break. Come back for our final segment of the day. Hope you're having a good Saturday. Officially summer now, and which means it'll probably rain tomorrow.
High winds and...
Great, because there's a hole in my backyard that's self-fulfilling with water. I'm going to do like a Duck Dynasty type pool, which is just a hole and fill some water.
And then you can invite the swamp people.
And that is called a pond where I come from. Now get in. And get some ducks over here, because you get enough ducks in there, they'll seal the bottom on their own. You don't need to put no concrete in there. We'll be right back, Jack.
See ya.
Talkin' Money! Talkin' Money!
Well, alrighty then, we're back to Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Right. How you doing? Welcome back. Did we have a quiz question there at the break, or did we not have one there?
Yeah, we had one.
What was it?
What company?
Oh yeah.
Nick Woodman.
We didn't get a winner to the Nick Woodman question? Okay, so all you extreme sports enthusiasts probably all own one of Nick's products. Nick Woodman, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Yeah, I thought it made me look goofy when they first came out, so I got a different version of it. But it seems like everybody has one now. But if you're riding motorcycles or skiing or boarding or those things, you probably have one. So we'll leave Nick's product out there, and they are all over the place. So we'll let that hang for a minute. We can take our what happened to our Sweeping Country Vistas person? You got that one? Okay, we'll give them some as well. We were talking about Blackstone and some of the REITs and things buying up multiple properties for the break. Chris with CGA Property Management is here, and I caught this article. The MSCI U.S. REIT Index has tumbled 10% from a 6-year high. That was in late May. REIT stocks particularly hit hard since late May amid expectations the Fed Reserve may scale back on its effort to ease monetary policy. So some of the REITs are having a hard time raising some new money and or maybe backing off a little bit on buying some of the rental properties. I contended that at this point that's probably good for the rest of us that are trying to find a single-family house. If you get the businesses out of there, maybe more of them can actually flow through to the market. We can actually get some owner-occupants in there.
Won't that increase the interest rates, though, for your first-time buyers?
Yes.
Move-up buyers?
Yeah, the rates are. There's a two-pronged effect. Sure, I mean the rates going up is going to slow some things down. And what it'll probably do, I don't know that it would stop There's some first-time buyers. There's as many coming back into the market buyers as there are first-time buyers. So those that are coming back, like Mike and I were talking about earlier, they're coming back. They had a mortgage that was 5 and 6% before. So they're coming back in, and if it's 4 or 5 again, that's not going to scare them off. Where it hurts the first-time buyer a little bit is that if they're real tight and they can afford a $200,000 home, and that was at 3 3/4, does that mean they're only at 185 now? Right. At the new rate. And what Mike and I were talking about during our meeting yesterday was, looking at some of these products now that are that are maybe a little lower rate to begin with, and like the 5/1 ARM and the 7/1 ARM, those are running a full point lower than the market, which puts you kind of back to where you were originally qualified for. And quite honestly, if you look at the length of time, the history of a person holds a mortgage, not the house, but a mortgage, they on average is about 6 to 7 years. So paying for a 30-year mortgage may be a waste of your money. If you think, okay, this is, I may not keep this house, but more likely you may not keep the mortgage. House values go up and up and up. You're looking around, I got to pull a little equity out of it. I got to do, these things. So these things happen. So looking at these 5 and 7/1 ARMs is a good alternative. FHA on the 5/1 ARM allows you to.
You qualify at the start rate.
Yeah.
So you don't inflate the rate at all, and the underwriter's going to take the interest rate that we quote you to use it to underwrite the loan. Yeah.
So there are some tricks to the trade.
Yep.
Believe it or not, for those of us who've been doing this business for 25 years, rates weren't always 3-something.
Yeah.
In fact, very, very often they are not 3-something. So,
well, you used to have a management company. I used to have a mortgage company. And I remember the big refi mania we first got into. I think we were getting people all the way down to 8% at that time. Yeah, it was amazing. We just couldn't believe it. And so now at 3, well, that's almost like free money, isn't it?
It is free money.
Yeah,
yeah, it is free money, and a lot of those mortgages won't pay off in 5 or 7 years.
Right.
But they will on the books a little longer.
So I asked you before, during the break there, maybe kind of give us some examples of where, maybe someone like myself who's had. So I've got 3 rental houses. I've got the same tenants have been there, for, quite a while now, and I don't keep track of. And I'm in the industry, whatever that means, but I don't keep track of all the new laws for residential real estate, and so what are some things that maybe I'm overlooking?
Well, it's one of those things where I guess if you don't ever have a problem, you get through it and you think you did great. It's when a problem arises. It's almost like putting someone in, paying the guy cash to fix up your backyard. That's great until he gets hurt, right? And then he's off to workman's comp, and you didn't have that. So the same thing is true in the rental market. So I think everybody knows you need a smoke detector, but not everybody knows that here soon you're going to need a smoke detector in every single bedroom, even on older homes. I'm still surprised by how many landlords don't know that you need a carbon monoxide detector in every home. I walk in and they're not there.
If they refinance,
You
they
need
do.
that too. Refinance and purchase too,
Yeah.
guys.
You gotta have one. Yep.
You need to have one.
Also, some things like secondary door lock. You can live in your own personal residence and not have a deadbolt on a door that leads from your house to the outside, no problem. But when you rent it out, you better have a deadbolt on that door, and it better not be a double-cylinder lock. I mean, if something happens, a fire, someone doesn't get out, even the spousal abuse, and someone can't escape because you didn't have the right lock on the door, you can be liable for that as a landlord. So if it never happens, you never know. But, so these are some of the more physical, mechanical things. Some of the more the great things that lend themselves to greater liability are some of the legislative issues that have passed. A lot of your local governments, your cities, Citrus Heights, Rancho Cordova requires a business license, don't they? If you don't have a business license and pay your $30 every year, the fines can be astronomical. You got to register your property with the county if it's a rental.
So I have never known that.
Okay, if you don't, let's talk about that one for a minute because that one is huge. And this is something that's coming to the forefront of virtually every eviction that's going on out there. So let's say you got a tenant, they don't pay rent. You take them off to eviction court, and you're standing there, and guess what? Who shows up but the Northern California Legal Fund, a free tenant service, right? Mm-hmm. And they say, well, you know what? You didn't register this property as a rental. So not only do you not have the right to collect rent, but we want the rent back for the past, year and a half that the tenants lived here. And now you're in the hall trying to negotiate from that position. Go out and register your property, follow the rules. Now, that's a case that they haven't won yet, but, they will. I mean, it's
a nuisance if nonetheless.
It's a nuisance. It definitely gives you a lesser position in terms of your negotiation. I mean, this is where now owners are going ahead and let tenants stay for another 60 days. They're paying the tenants cash for keys. They're doing all these things because they didn't know a simple rule like that. Every jurisdiction now, the city of Sacramento, Rancho, the Citrus Heights, the county, they all have their registration rules, and now they have their inspection rules. If the house isn't inspected annually.
By who?
Annually.
By you or by them?
It depends what city. It depends where you are. If the house is in the county, yes, you can do a self-inspection. My company does inspections for 90% of those homes that we manage. We go ahead and you got a choice. You can have the county come out and inspect it. No, thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Hello. Or you can inspect it, and then you better keep good records because if they audit you and you didn't really do it, or we can come out and do it. So we do these county inspections. The city now just passed a rule where they're going to allow self-inspections. Some cities will not allow. They have to come out and inspect that property every single year. And if you're not registered or you don't have your business license, they'll slap you with a $500 fine. I don't remember the exact numbers, but they'll go way beyond $500 if you decide you don't want to comply. So there's a lot there. Again, it reminds me of the old days when for sale by owners did fine, no problem. Now you're just inviting. You're playing with a loaded gun. You really are. And when these owners, I go down to the court because once in a while I have to go down there and I talk to some of these owners. I'm a little dressed up so they think I'm an attorney, and they start telling they
tell you all their sins.
Yeah, all of a sudden, no, they've got the legal fund down there helping the tenant, and they're standing there all alone going, I didn't know, what do I do now? And they tell me these things, and I'm thinking, you didn't register your property? You didn't know about that? And, why not? You should have got something from the county. And so the list goes on. There's just a whole lot of compliance issues out there, and they're changing all the time as far as companion pets. People say no dogs. You can't say that anymore. You cannot say that anymore. You have to say no dogs, no pets or whatever, unless it's a companion animal. And if the tenant calls you or Fair Housing makes a spy call to you and says, I've got a dog. It's a Rottweiler, or a pit bull or something, and it's my companion. Can you rent to me? If you say no, well, you're going to find yourself in front of a hearing down there.
So you don't mean like a C9 dog. You mean like this is my This is my roommate dog.
Yeah,
Yes, this is my dog I need for my whatever, mental stability, mental, whatever the terminology is. So we have to go through and get all the documentation, and it's scary for an owner when they put up their nice home in Rockland with brand new carpet and a nice backyard, and then all of a sudden you have this situation where you've got a dog or two living there, big dogs.
Well, you don't have to rent to them. You just don't want to say no on the phone.
You got to rent to them. Well, let's put it this way: you can't discriminate because of that. If you're not going to rent to him, it better be because of another qualification that needs to be legit. So
Because he's in the mortgage business.
That's true. We don't rent to those guys.
That is a perfect one.
That is legal discrimination, I think, there, isn't it?
if he's
Just kidding, fair housing. Just kidding. All right, so
we got 1 minute left before we got to go to the break there. But go ahead. I appreciate any other.
Am I scaring you pretty good? You don't want to be your landlord anymore?
I wake up every morning and I hope and pray that my tenants individually burn the house to the damn ground on their own. That is my wish. My dying wish of every day. Please burn my place to the ground. I'll have 3 nice lots.
Give us a call. We'll help you out. It's $85 a month. 779-3800. If you don't mind me giving out my number,
please.
779-3800. $85 a month. You can sleep good at night. We'll take care of it for you.
Yeah, that's incredibly reasonable. I mean, even when we owned our company years ago, I think Kim was doing 125 to 150, and that at the time was considered. Was considered reasonable.
Average is about 100 right now in Sacramento. I'll go 95 if it's a certain situation, but for the most part, it's $85 a month.
Okay, CGA Property Management.
CGA Property Management, 779-3800. My name is Chris. That's my direct line. You will talk to me. Be happy to talk to you.
Yeah, you'll spend that money about 15 minutes with an attorney if you think don't go well. That's
just dialing the phone. You get charged that. Yeah. They know it's coming.
Yeah,
right.
That music means that is a wrap-up for the show. If you didn't catch all of it or you want to hear Chris's comments again, this show is posted on our Talkin Money Facebook page every week by that guy in the corner right there. And you can reach Chris directly if you have some questions. I may be turning over some rentals to him fairly quick. If I can't just sell the damn things and get out.
I would.
Yeah, we got to go. Hope you have a great weekend. Happy birthday if it's your birthday. All the people I said earlier. We'll catch you next week. My name's Jeff. That's Mike. That's Chris. Aloha, everybody. Be safe.
See ya.
Talkin' money.